Morning guys, and welcome to this training 20. We have got Functional Friday focusing on the side squats. So side squats are a very tricky one to first of all get the right technique. It requires quite a lot of mobility and strength both in the hips, glutes and all around that area here. So we're going to focus on that first by kind of opening it up. So what we want to make sure you can do first is stretch out your hips. So like we've done before, we're going to take it into a frog stretch first, with those knees nice and wide, literally as wide as they'll go. We're going to keep the back arched, so I'll show you that in a second. Then we're just going to rock back and sit into that stretch, opening up those hips and groin. So if I show you from the side here, again, those knees go as wide as they possibly can, and then making sure we're maintaining that arch back, and then we're sitting back here. What we don't want to be doing is as we go back, we round under like so. Main reason we don't want to do that is because we're trying to mimic or imitate a squat. And if we're squatting like so, we want to, again, not maintain a really arched back, but maintain our flat back as we sit into a squat. The same as a frog stretch. If we're rounding down at the bottom of the back like this, if we're looking to add weight to this exercise, then it's not going to be great for the lower back. So first of all, we want to sit back here, keep that back arched, and just feel that stretch. Some people quite enjoy this stretch, but it is quite an intense one on the hips. And what you'll find is in time you'll be able to go wider with your knees, sit further back. What we can do is drop it down onto the forearms and sit back here as well. This is really mimicking a squat as I'm keeping the chest upright, sitting down into those hips like so. So first of all, just making sure your hips will allow you to do something like a side squat is the first thing you need to be able to do here. So using this stretch first of all is great, and then we're going to take it into a leg out frog stretch. So you simply, from this position, you probably want to ease it off. You take one leg out dead straight. So my foot is level with my hips. The leg stays straight. You can probably start on your hands here. I'm going to sink back here. So now we're really focusing on this side, as well as still on the other side here, like so. Again, maintaining that arch, trying to keep your hips as level as you can in this position, and sinking back. So I'm going to show you from the other angle. Again, probably starting that frog stretch first. Take that leg out. Keep that back arched, and we're sinking back here into that stretch. Foot level with your hip into that stretch there. Now the straight leg is key here, and that's going to come into importance later, but here we're just stretching out, making sure that we're not going to be trying something. We're going to swap sides. Making sure we're trying something we're not capable of doing, or capable of doing yet anyway, because the side squat is a tough movement, and it requires a lot of mobility and strength in the hips and groin. And if you're not capable of that, if you really struggle to get in this position at all, then you maybe don't want to be doing side squats just yet, and want to build to them over time. If you struggle with exercise like this, then maybe your squat needs a lot of work before you consider something like a side squat. But once you've gone for this stretch from both sides and built that up, you can start to look into the fundamentals of the side squat, which we're going to do now. So we're going to start with just a big split stance first of all. So nice wide stance, way wider than shoulder width apart, and we're just going to sit up here as well. So I'm going to take you through what the kind of issues we have with the side squat first of all. The most common thing is that our knee drives forward. We go knee forward, we even come off, the heel comes off, and we're coming into this position here. All our weight drives into the knee, and we don't want that. First of all, like we've talked about the squat in the previous videos, which you can revisit if you've missed those. With the squat, we're looking for that tripod foot. So we're keeping all those 3 connection points down, even in the side squat. So if I'm focusing on this foot, I've got just below my big toe, just below my little toe, and the heel. Those 3 points stay down the whole time like in a normal squat, like in a side squat here. So once you've got that connection point on those 3 points, it's still possible to still drive your knee and lead with the knee forward too much. So if I show you from the side here, if I'm putting on my weight forwards, I'm not really hitting the squat, I'm doing this, but that'd be the same as kind of doing a squat like this, which again, we know isn't right. We want to be sitting back into that squat, like so, sitting into the hips, working these glute muscles as well as the quads. It's exactly the same for the side squat. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just tricky to pull off and get into that routine. So what we want to be doing is, again, like the normal squat, sitting those hips back, downwards. The knee can still go forwards, but we're maintaining that tripod. The knee's going diagonally out, and we're sitting those hips down. So the first way just to start to learn that movement is to literally come into a side here. I just want you to push your bum back and rest on that knee. So start with your hands at the top of your hip. You slide down to that knee as you just push your bum back, like so. Pushing that bum back. So as you can see, all I'm doing here is initiating the first movement that we want to see, which is that bum back rather than that knee forwards. So bum back here. It's really not a big movement. So I'll show you from front on now. Hand up here, slide, and then back. You can alternate sides like so, but all we're focusing on is those hips dropping backwards. Nice and easy. Still feel a bit of a stretch on the groin, as you will with all these side squat exercises, which is a very gentle movement to learn that sit back, okay? Now, a great thing you can do is use your chair for this and build up this way. So grab yourself a chair or sofa. If you're using a chair, whatever leg you're focusing on, you want to put directly in the middle of it, like so. Because then what you can do is, as you're doing these lean backs, you can tap your bum to that and just relax down. So I'm sitting back, and then sitting down into this kind of side squat position here. And now I'm just going to push myself back up. So this is pretty much a side squat with a seat. So foot in the middle of the chair, pushing that bum back, and then into that seat, and then up I come like so, okay? So really good way to start to learn, like we do with the normal squat, using a seated exercise first can be really effective. So I'll show you on the other side as well. Literally, plant that foot in the middle, slide that bum back, and weight just trying to fall back into that seated position, and back up we come. Sit, and then push yourself back up. Really good way to start off the side squat here. Now before we move on, what I can't stress enough is what we do with the other leg. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but that does kind of help. What we don't want to see is kind of going off, and kind of what we see a lot of is people go for a side squat and kind of bend this leg forwards, and that puts all our weight forwards. It really turns, we're basically doing more of a lunge than a side squat at that point. So what you've got to do is you've got to keep it opened up so our hips stay facing forward and we're able to sit into that squat. Otherwise we kind of see stuff like this, and it's really not what we want. So I recommend keeping this leg straight, or as straight as you can, as you're sitting into any of these exercises. So those seated ones, making sure the leg that isn't used for the squat is keeping nice and straight and stable. Now once you've got that, once you've found some success with those seated ones, what we're going to go for is a side squat reach. So this is just a great way to practice your squat depth and build it up, your side squat depth that is. Build up that side squat depth without worrying about the upper body. So what I recommend is starting with this big split squat again. And all we're going to do here is reach for the toe. So once you've got that initial movement happening, you're just going to reach down, touch the toe, and back up. So you can see, as I show you from the side, these hips sit back, I'm touching the toe, and I'm coming back up. And you can see how low my chest is. My chest is pretty much to my knee, which is not how we want a side squat to look, but we're not worried about that at the moment. We're just worried about our movement in the lower body. So you can see I'm sinking down, back up, across, back up. I'll show you from the front again. So yeah, you can alternate sides, chest down, reach for the toe, back up. What we're focusing on here is that sit back still, like so. Now this is where you start to build it up. I could easily touch my toe and barely move at all. So I'm not, you can see how high my hips are there in relation to my knee. That's the thing we're looking to build up on. So how low can we sit that bum backwards? So if I sit back here, I'm touching the toe and my hips pretty much level with my knee. Same over this side. I want to really practice on sitting that back and feel comfortable with that sit back. So let me show you again here before we move it on. So as I'm going for that reach, you may start off up here where this leg stays straight and you can barely manage your sit back, and that's fine. We're eventually looking to be able to sit this bum right back as we go for these toe tissues down, sitting as low as we can, like so. Once you feel like you've mastered that and you feel quite comfortable in the movement, you're sitting that bum back, everything feels good, keeping that other leg straight. We're then going to take it to the upper body and focus on that side of things. So like a squat, we don't want to be with our chest down, hitting a squat. We want to be keeping up. So we're going to do some chest up squats like here, keeping upright like so. And it's the exact same with a side squat again. I recommend you can use a little weight and hold it out in front of you, or you can just put your arms out in front. That's how I like to do it, just kind of adjust your body weight in order to balance. So rather than reaching down, we're going to start to lift our arms forward and sit back into it. So arms go forward, we sit back and back up. Again, even though you've probably been squatting lower and you're trying to build up that reach, start high, get comfortable, little movement, and then back. This is the key. Look how high I'm keeping compared to those reaches. I'm keeping nice and high, so it's going to be quite a bit more difficult to maintain this squat. So build it up slowly, and eventually you can feel like you can start to squat deeper and deeper. Again, you can practice with things like the chair still. You can use lower chairs, but keeping that chest up, you don't necessarily have to sit down, but you squat to that level. So I'm not actually just kind of sitting down anymore. I'm using it as a guiding point to know that if I do go too low and lose control and fall, all I'm going to do is sit down. So I'm going, keeping that chest up and back up like so. And then, like I said, you can use lower things to build that down. But eventually you should feel comfortable enough to just go it on your own. Legs nice and wide, sitting that bum down here like so. Keeping that chest up, looking forward, reaching out in front of you over one side to the other. And you've got a choice once you've kind of got to that point where you're performing a full side squat, working on that depth, is your foot position. Now there isn't a right or wrong here. I find if you lift your foot, then you can get more depth. So if you want to be testing that, then go for it. But don't allow it to lose control. Want to still maintain control of the exercise. And this would technically be more advanced, not that it's necessary. So build yourself up to it. So what I'm talking about is if I go for my deepest side squat with both feet flat, like so. So I'm going to sink low. That's about as low as I can get. Nice depth. I'm actually lifting my foot, so I keep that foot flat and back up. Same on the other side. Sink low, keeping this foot flat, like so, and back up. Now, a variation of this is a slight twist on this foot in order to allow us to get lower on this side. So if you watch here, I'm going to sit. This heel is going to come up, I'm going to twist open, and it allows me to sit into a deeper position and put more of my body weight on this leg. So from here, I've still got this leg kind of restricting me a little bit, but help supporting me at the same time. When I twist it open and go onto the heels, I'm putting all my weight on this leg and sinking over into that deep side squat like so. And then same on the other side, heel up, sinking down into that deep side squat, okay? So that is the kind of next step you want to take if you want to improve your squat depth. And not only that, make it more difficult because you're putting more weight on that leg. Like we do with weights, the more weight this leg's got to press back up, the stronger it's going to have to be, so you're going to build up that strength. So once you've done that, we're going to go for some side squats where we step. Now if you never want to do these and you just want to keep doing them in this split stance, then fine. That's absolutely no problem. There's not much benefit. If anything, it's more balanced than anything else, but I'm sure you've seen them. So I just want to take you through it quickly. If you're going to do a stepping side squat, it's exactly the same. We need to make sure when we step, we're stepping into that position. And then all we're doing is sinking back into that squat. But obviously, making it one movement, you go big step, down into that squat, and push back up. So you've obviously got that push back up like so. The difference is like the same as a split squat and a lunge. They're technically the same movement, but yeah, you are requiring more strength and balance and everything else to perform a stepping side squat compared to just a standard one, like so. So that's the only difference there. Again, just adds that difficulty if you want to take it further. We're going to finish off with a Cossack squat, which is a fantastic exercise, not only to build up strength in the hips and groin, but a really good mobility exercise too. So what a Cossack squat is we're going to come back into this split stance here. We're going to sink over, and then we're looking to go straight over to the other side. Now, when you start in these Cossack squat, you're probably going to be going in a triangle motion, or if not, like a little sloped motion, where you come here and you sink over, up and down, back up and back down like so. And that's where you should start. That's where we want to start here. You can even use your hands on the floor if you're struggling to keep that chest up. We're still getting a lot of benefit from this movement here. Eventually, we want to be able to be strong enough to keep that chest up as we sink from one side to the other. But to really focus on the mobility benefits and strength benefits of a Cossack squat, we're actually looking to sway across level. And you can start off high, so if I start off here, straight across and back, my hips are keeping level, even though I'm not very low, I'm keeping level like so. And that's how you want to build it down. Keep building it down until you can kind of be here at your depth, sink across, and at the depth there. Low, keeping low. This is a Cossack squat where we're going across from side to side, nice and low with those hips. Puts a lot of pressure on the hips, and you're spending a lot of time down in this position, so it can be quite taxing on your hips and muscles. But that is a Cossack squat that you can build up to there. And that's it. That's everything. It actually did take 20 minutes, but that's everything I wanted to cover side squats. So there's a ton of information there, a ton of ways to build up your side squat and learn how to perform one properly. So I hope you got something out of that today. Otherwise, you can have a nice weekend. I will be posting next week's schedule on Sunday, and I'm going to be changing up the times and doing a few less sessions a week, but I'll explain that in that schedule post on Sunday. Otherwise, have a nice weekend.